Okay, so in this video, we'll be looking at how to deal with fractional exponents or powers with fractional exponents. So just to refresh your memory, so what I mean by a fractional exponent, so say we have x to the power n, right? Well, we know that x is what we would call our base, right? And obviously n is our exponent. Okay, so what I mean by a fractional exponent is literally just an exponent in the form of a fraction. It's actually really pretty straightforward. So a fractional exponent would be something like, like x to the power n over m. So essentially, this guy over here, this is a fractional exponent. So we basically going to be looking at simplifying expressions with fractional exponents and how to deal with them. Okay, so let's jump into an example. So the aim of these exercises or these examples are simply to just simplify. Okay, so let's see, 1.1. So we want to simplify the following expression. 64 to the power of a half. Okay, so I want you to notice that we have a fractional exponent up here. So how do we deal with something like this? How do we simplify this? Well, we can start by looking at the base, which is 64, right? Can we rewrite that in another form, like something to the power of something? Yes, we can. What is the smallest form, if you think about it now, that we can, the smallest base we can change this to? Well, we can say technically 64 is equal to 2 to the power of 6, right? Okay, and then we have to still keep the half outside. Okay, so now I want you to remember that when you have, say, a base to the power of something, and you raise that whole thing to the power of a half, when you distribute the half into the brackets, you're just going to multiply it by whatever exponent is already on the 2 over there. So it's a 6. So you would say 6 times a half. And then obviously 6 times a half is just 3. So this will simplify to 2 to the power 3. And 2 to the power 3 is obviously just 8. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward, and it's a useful tool for simplifying expressions. So let's take a look at another example. Okay, so let's say 1.2. Okay, say we have something in the form, let's see, 27 to the power of 2/3. Okay, so once again, the aim is to basically, we want to take this 27, the base, and we want to break it down into something smaller. Okay, so 27, how can we break that down? Well, 27 we can just obviously rewrite as 3 to the power 3, and all of that raised to 2/3. Okay, so instead of taking out your calculator, just on the sidelines or in your head, just go and write this out. So you technically have 3 over 1 multiplied with 2 over 3, right? So you'll see your 3's cancel out, and you're left with a 2. So this will then just simplify to 3 to the power 2, and 3 to the power 2 is 9. Okay. So the next example, 1.3. So here we have 16 over 81, and this is raised to the power of negative 3/4. Okay. So there's a little, so you know that when you have a fraction, okay, like this, and it's raised to some power, then you'll distribute this exponent into the brackets, onto the numerator and the denominator. So you'll have 16 to the power negative 3/4 over 81 to the power negative 3/4. But we don't always like working with negative exponents. I know I don't, because sometimes it gets confusing. And one thing that makes it a lot easier, a little trick that you can use, is when you start off with a negative exponent like this and you have a fraction, what's really nice to do is to actually rewrite this as follows. So you flip around the 81 and the 16. So you just change the numerator and the denominator. And then this exponent changes to a positive exponent. Okay. It makes sense. I mean, if you go and distribute this exponent into the brackets, you'll have a 16 to the negative 3 over 4 and over 81 to the negative 3 over 4. So you anyway going to swap them around to change it to a positive exponent. So it's always nice to actually just do it from the start so that you don't get confused maybe later on. So it's really easy to just quickly change it like this. Okay. And now, now we need to think. So maybe let's start by, let's distribute the 3/4 into the numerator and denominator. So we have 81 to the power 3 over 4, 3 over 4 over 16 to the power 3 over 4. Okay, so now we're basically back to the type of thing that we were doing in the previous examples. So if we look at the numerator and the denominator, we have quite a large base to the power of a fraction. So now we're going to deal with these fractional exponents as we did before. So if we start looking at 81, can we break that down to something smaller so that we can simplify the numerator? Yes, we can. So 81, so you want to kind of focus on what your exponent is, your fractional exponent. We have 3/4. So can we find, if we can find some sort of base raised to the power of 4, then it would be really nice, because then this 4 in the fraction would cancel out with the 4 of the exponent. So what can we break 81 down to? Is there some sort of base raised to the power 4 that we can break it down to? Yes, there is. In fact, we can write it as 3 to the power 4. So let's go and do that. So 81 is technically 3 to the power 4, and that's raised to the power of 3/4. Okay, cool. And then at the bottom we have 16 as a base. So once again, if we can get something raised to the power 4, it would be nice, because then the 4's will cancel out in the exponents. So do we have something to the power, something that we can raise to the power 4? Yes, we can change 16 to 2 to the power 4 raised to 3/4. And now you'll see that, as I just mentioned, the 4's cancel out when you multiply the exponents together. In other words, we basically left with 3 to the power 3 over 2 to the power 3. And now it's very easy to just simplify this. So 3 to the power 3 is 27, and 2 to the power 3 is just 8. And yeah, so we have 27 over 8, and if you wanted to, you could just simplify that to 3 and 3/8. Okay, so last example. So this is example 1.4, and we have, let's see, 0.125 raised to the power of 2/3. Okay, so first of all, we don't like working with any decimals, so let's change 0.125. We know we can write that as 1/8, and 1/8 to the power of 2 over 3. So now, the nice thing about algebra is there's more than one way of doing things, usually. So in this case, you'll see that we have, so we have 1 over 8 to the power of 2 over 3. So as in the previous examples, you can go and distribute the 2 over 3 onto the numerator and denominator and simplify further. Another thing you can notice is that technically 1 over 8, we can rewrite 1 over 8 as 2 to the minus 3. And then we keep that power there. Just to explain this quickly, so technically you can take 8, because we have 8 to the power of 1, which you can't see there, but it's just 8, and we can take that to the top of the fraction, so to the top, and then it becomes 8 to the minus 1. But 8 itself can be written as 2 to the 3. So if you change that, you'll get 2 to the minus 3 because of the minus 1. Okay. So now what do you see is that we have a minus 3 here and a 3 here. So technically, these cancel out. As you can see, the 3's cancel out, but we're keeping the minus and the 2. The minus doesn't go away. So now, this technically simplifies to 2 to the minus 2. Okay. And 2 to the minus 2, well, we don't like having negative exponents, so we can rewrite this as 1 over 2 to the power 2. And that is just then equal to 1 over 4. And that is the answer.